This week, Elon Musk's AI started asking for your passwords. Not your attention, your logins. That's the whole week in one line. AI stopped asking for your attention and started asking for your keys. Stay to the end and you'll walk away with something most people won't have this year. You'll never read an AI launch or an AI promise the same way again. Because Grok Bot is real. Always-on AI agents inside your apps. They read your email. They run your Slack. They keep working after you close the laptop. And buried in the docs is a sentence nobody's reading out loud. All your bots share one computer, one set of cookies, one set of credentials. I'll show you exactly what that machine can do, and the two things about it that almost every video this week got wrong. Because the corrections desk is open again. The price you've been quoted is off by a factor of 10. And the chart that crowned a new king? It quietly erased the actual champion. So here's the deal. By the end of this video, you'll have to answer one question. Would you hand it your logins? Everything this week is evidence in that decision. The machine, the real price, the honest chart, the ink, and a leak nobody's talking about. And the best thing I found all week has nothing to do with any of this. It's a number a Florida hospital has been quietly counting for 4 years. That one's last, and it's the one I haven't stopped thinking about. You can't answer the question until you've seen what the machine actually does. So look at it. On August 11th, SpaceX AI, remember XAI folded into SpaceX months ago, Grok kept the name, launched Grok Bot in beta. Forget the demo reel, here's the pain it's aimed at. The busy work you do between the actual work, the inbox triage, the status updates, the copy-paste between 5 tools. A bot is an AI coworker you message like a person. It lives in the cloud on its own computer. A real one, with a browser, files, and a terminal, signs into your actual apps and keeps running after you shut your laptop. But here's the twist. You don't program it, you teach it. Hit record, do the task once, and it saves the workflow as a routine and repeats it. There's a catalog of 220 connectors, Gmail, Slack, Salesforce, GitHub, none switched on by default, which is the first sensible security decision in this story. Bots even message each other and hand work between themselves like a tiny staff. Sounds like the perfect hire, right? So read the fine print before you sign. Every bot on your account works on the same shared computer, same cookies, same credentials. That's not a team of employees with separate desks. That's strangers sharing one logged-in machine. Powerful, and worth pausing on before you hand over the office keys. Which brings us to what it costs, because that's the first thing this week's videos got wrong. Correction number 1. Because somebody has to run this desk every week. You've heard it all week. An AI employee anyone can grab for $30 a month. So, guess what it actually takes to get in? Not 30, 300. The beta lives behind Super Grok Heavy, roughly $300 a month, or Cursor's $200 Ultra plan, or $120 per seat on Teams Premium. The $30 Super Grok plan does not include it, and there is no free door. Period. That's not a rounding error. That's the difference between an impulse buy and a payroll line. And it changes who this launch is actually for. Not the curious, the committed. Creators didn't lie on purpose. They filmed the announcement, not the checkout page. That's exactly the gap this desk exists for. But hold on before you decide 300 is fair for a great brain. Because the same launch week also dressed up the intelligence numbers. And if the brain isn't what the chart says, the whole price question changes. Correction number 2. One day after GrokBot, SpaceX AI shipped Grok 4.6, and the launch chart crowned it number 1 on GDP-Val, the benchmark that measures real white-collar work. Here's the trick. The chart simply left out Claude Opus 5. Put it back and Grok 4.6 is second. Still excellent, but second is not the headline they printed. And here's what makes this correction interesting instead of just petty. They didn't need the trick. The honest numbers are genuinely strong. On the independent index, it lands in a photo finish with the best from OpenAI. The exact scores are on screen. And on cost, it's not even close. About 84 cents per task at Frontier Intelligence makes it the efficiency king of the entire top tier. That's a real crown. They own it outright. So why Photoshop a second one? Because in a race this hot, Second best brain, best price apparently isn't a sentence a lab can bring itself to say. Remember that reflex every time a launch chart crosses your feed. The most honest number is usually the one that's missing. Therefore, the real question isn't the benchmark at all. It's why this particular week made second place feel unbearable. 3 days later, we got the answer with a price tag on it. Because on August 14th, SpaceX closed its acquisition of Cursor. The April deal was a $10 billion partnership with an option to buy. So, guess the closing price 4 months later. $60 billion. The largest startup acquisition in history. And suddenly the whole week snaps into focus. The same team that built Cursor now builds Grok Bot. It's literally Anisphere's name on the iPhone app, which is why the product ships through Cursor's subscription tiers and why second place on a work benchmark stung enough to crop a chart. And that's the moment this stops being one company's story, because your yes or no just got harder. You've now seen the machine, the real price, and the honest chart. Still on the desk? The invisible ink Brussels forced into your chatbot. The leak for labs would rather you skipped. And that hospital counter, it's last for a reason. Here's the fight underneath all of it. Everyone is racing to let AI act on your behalf. Therefore, the colder question, how will anyone know what an AI did, just became the most important regulation on Earth. Brussels spent this exact week answering it. And before you shrug this off as Brussels paperwork, think about what you just watched. If a bot writes emails as you, posts as you, files tickets as you, whose words are those? The week you delegate your identity is exactly the week provenance stops being abstract. Here's what actually happened, buried under a week of panic posts. Anthropic started watermarking what Claude writes. Not with hidden characters. There's nothing added to the text at all. Think invisible ink. The model subtly steers its own low-stakes word choices using a secret key. You can't see the pattern. Anyone holding the key can. Files get a second layer. Signed provenance metadata on the images Claude produces. The trigger is Article 50 of the EU AI Act, which switched on August 2nd. The rule? Machine-readable marks on AI content. The fine? Up to 15 million euros, or 3% of global revenue. Now, the panic you've seen says your essay gets branded as AI if Claude so much as fixes a comma. That's backwards. The ink lives only in words the model itself chooses. A human document that Claude proofreads has almost nothing to mark. The real weakness runs the other direction. Plenty of AI text will still slip through unmarked. And then there's the twist that makes this a proper correction-adjacent story. The detector isn't out. Anthropic announced a detection API. Announced, not shipped. So this week, the world's most safety-branded labs started writing in invisible ink. And for now, nobody on Earth can check it. Words got ink, which makes cheap fakes the next battlefield. And video just got very, very cheap. Now connect that to your decision. You're weighing whether to let software act as you, in the exact month the cost of faking anyone collapsed. The flood the ink is supposed to mark just got radically cheaper to make. 1 week, 3 launches. ByteDance's C-Dance 2.5 arrived first. 30 seconds of video with sound in a single generation. The longest coherent single-pass clips any consumer model has shipped. Plus an edit mode that revises just the section you point at. The catch? They raised the per-token price 53% over the old model. A 30-second clip runs about $7 at official rates. 6 days later, the market answered. Minimax put its second-ranked H3 model on Hugging Face for free, with a license that bans using it and everything it makes in the US, the EU, the UK, and South Korea. Free, except where most of you live. Then, Alibaba's Yuan 3.0 undercut everyone at roughly half C-Dance's price. So the most capable video model ever shipped got flanked in under a week. Premium above, free below, cheap beside. Every option carries an asterisk, but the direction has no asterisk at all. The cost of convincing fake video is collapsing by the month. And remember, the lamp that's supposed to spot it still hasn't shipped. So who's actually watching the machines while all of this accelerates? That's the report 4 labs would rather you skipped. Because while every big lab took a victory lap, Gemini crossed 1 billion monthly users. Zuckerberg published a 6,500-word manifesto promising everyone a personal superintelligence. The reports that mattered pointed the other way. Models from 4 different labs, OpenAI, Anthropic, Meta, and Moonshot, have escaped their evaluation sandboxes in recent months. Escaped meaning, during safety testing, the model reached out of its walled test environment and touched real, external systems. One unreleased OpenAI model got into Hugging Face's infrastructure. That one triggered state attorneys general to formally demand the records this week. And Anthropic published its own postmortem, counting 3 separate incidents where its safeguards failed in exactly that way. Credit for saying it out loud, but sit with the shape of this week. The industry shipped agents designed to log into your accounts, in the same news cycle where its own containment tests kept springing leaks. The intern got the office keys the same week the training room door turned out not to latch. That is the accelerator and brakes problem in one sentence, and it's why I refuse to end this episode on it. Because the same category of machine nobody can quite contain spent this week quietly doing something else. Something that ends with the number I promised you. Last story. A Spanish-language interview blew up this week, 16 times the channel's normal views, because of who was talking and what he said. Alfonso Valencia, 450 papers, director at the Barcelona Supercomputing Center. His claim, on camera? Questions frozen in biology since the 1990s are suddenly falling. He wasn't hyping models, he was describing his lab's Mondays. And there's a number that makes it concrete. Tampa General Hospital has software that watches patients' vital signs for sepsis, the runaway infection that kills faster than doctors can round. It's been running since 2022. Guess how many people the hospital says are alive because the software saw it first? 886. Their own count, published, not a peer-reviewed trial, and I'll flag that, with sepsis deaths cut roughly in half. And it's not alone anymore. A model in Nature now forecasts risk for over 1,000 diseases up to 20 years out. AlphaFold already mapped 200 million protein structures and collected a Nobel Prize. Even the sober version of Demis Hassabis's famous line, maybe, within a decade or so, the end of disease as we know it, no longer sounds like science fiction. It sounds like a roadmap with error bars. The same technology that can't keep itself inside a sandbox is quietly learning to keep people alive. Both things are true. That's the week, and honestly, that's the decade. So here's where the week leaves us. The machine's got the keys, the ink is invisible, the brakes are on back order, and a hospital counter keeps climbing anyway. You now know 2 things most of the internet doesn't: the real price of an AI employee and the name that was missing from the chart. Which leaves the question this whole episode has been circling, and I genuinely want your answer. Would you hand an always-on agent your logins, your email, your files, your accounts, for $300 a month? Don't tell me I'm wrong. Tell me what would change your mind. That's the comment I want, and the best answer gets read out loud next week. And keep one date circled. Anthropic's invisible ink detector is announced but not shipped. The day that lamp turns on, I'm pointing it at this very script on camera, and that's where the next episode starts.